Hey, this is Jack Gregg. I'm going to let my camera person show the rest of the audience before I get going. So, ta-da. All right, so I'm doing a speech for my human communication class, and the topic was pretty broad. I chose to pick a topic that was near and dear to my heart, and the idea is the fact that the Christian community is going against their own beliefs by turning away members of the LGBT community from the Christian faith. They do so in a few ways. They do so through harsh judgment and going against the very religion that they say to believe in. And they do so by acting against the poster boy of their faith, which is Jesus Christ. He set the example and they've gone against it. And the final way is they try to criticize them and chastise them into change instead of love them into change. And I'll describe further why that's the case. So my first point being that in the scriptures, in James 2:10, it says that whoever obeys the whole law but breaks it at just one point might as well have broken the entire law. And that being said, every Sunday, all across the nation, all across our nation, all across the world, there are gatherings of people at church. And they show up to those gatherings and they show up with their pride and with their envy and with their jealousy and don't think twice of it because those are the sins that they deem acceptable. However, the LGBTQ sins, not so much. If someone that they know might be homosexual or someone that they know might be transgender walks in the door, they look at them and snicker. Or they look at them and tap the person next to them and go, can you believe that so-and-so is at church? And as stated, that goes directly against what they believe. In James 2:10, if you break part of the law, you break the whole thing. So to chastise someone for their sin and to ignore your own goes against the religion as a whole. And it goes against the religion as a whole because of point two, the poster boy for the Christian faith is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the example. And you know that because in John 14:9, he says, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. And if you've seen the Father, you've seen me. That to say, Jesus is the example that's meant to be followed. And Jesus makes it very clear that he has no judgment. He has no judgment to be cast. So he states himself as a leader of the religion, and then his own brother writes that, hey, no sin is worse than the other, and that is the example that Christians claim to follow, and yet, again, daily, they turn away and chastise and criticize those who sin a little bit differently than them, and this is best articulated in John chapter 4, when Jesus goes to the well and meets the Samaritan woman, and he addresses her. He says, hello, what are you doing at the well? And she goes, I'm a Samaritan, and you're a Jew. We should not be talking, because Samaritans and Jews in the Bible, they didn't go along. Much like if I were to go and approach a member of the LGBT community that knows my faith, and I'll go, hey, what's up? How you doing? They might go and think, because of what they've heard and what they've seen other Christians do, hey, why is this person talking to me? That's not cool, and that's not right. And I'll say, hey, listen, I'm not here to judge you. In John chapter 4, Jesus tells the Samaritan woman, hey, listen, I have a water that doesn't run out. I have living water. I know what you've done. The man you're with right now isn't your husband. The last 5 haven't been your husband either. And yet I offer this living water to you freely. And again, he is the example. And daily, we, instead of loving and accepting the LGBT community for who they are and for what they are, the way that Jesus Christ laid it out, just like he did with the Samaritan woman, we chastise them and we try to tell them, your love from us is dependent upon your behavioral shift and becoming more like us. And Jesus demonstrates the example of my love for you is not based on your performance, it's not based on your change of heart, and it's not based on whether or not you and I agree with one another. It's strictly based on the fact that I love for you and care for you. So, in my own personal life, I've come across someone from the very same community who opened up to me and said, hey, listen, I turned away from Christianity because I was treated like this. And it hurt and it broke me. And I got to sit there and tell them why the example set for us was not what they received, and why the Christian community has gone and failed the task of pursuing the example that was set before us, which was Jesus. Jesus understands that all sin is equal, that one is no worse than the other. Jesus understands that he is the Father, and that what the Father does and what the Father says is probably what Christians claim they're supposed to be doing. And third, that he is not going to shame you into changing, and he's not going to guilt you before he loves you. He's going to love you in spite of, and he's going to love you despite of. And that is what a Christian community is doing a very poor job of, and what should probably be rectified. And that's all.